Welcome back to Friar Talk. Today, we are going to do another segment. We mentioned it last episode. So, the Padres starting pitching has been really bad lately. And for me, I talked about it. I had a tweet about it. This is the most concerning point I've been in. This is the most concerned I've been all year, just because you look at where they're at right now, and it's really scary. The innings pitched are clearly an issue. The Padres bullpen is heavily taxed. And then you add in that they have not been performing since the sticky ban. So, Chase, I'll let you start off with it, man. How concerned are you right now about the Padres starters?
It's pretty concerning. Like you mentioned in the earlier episode, the Padres have the most have the least amount of innings pitched from their starters, but the most earned runs for the last 15 days, which you're not going to win many games like that. It's or the second most earned run. You're not going to win games like that. You're putting the offense at the point where they're going to have to do the majority of the load, and the bullpen, which is already taxed as can be, to the point where you guys are bringing up guys just from the minor leagues, throw them for 5 innings, and then send them back down because the guys in that bullpen need that much of a break. It's getting to the point where, hey, if the starter has a bad outing, you might as well just force him to go 6 to 7 innings just to save the bullpen. Like when Paddock was getting rocked, I was just like, yeah, you know what? If I'm the manager, I'm like, hey, look, man, I know you just gave up 8 runs and you're probably feeling like absolute garbage right now and you're pitching like absolute garbage, but hey, I need you to go out there for another 4 to 5 innings because those guys can't handle it right now. You need to clean up this mess.
Yeah, so yesterday I was telling myself, don't be concerned yet unless Darvish gives another bad outing. Nonetheless, Darvish gets another bad outing. And now I'm like, oh my goodness, now our ace just had 2 bad outings in a row. Like, what are we gonna do? And if we're going down the list, Darvish, no question, he's our ace. I don't expect this kind of, drift these past 2 starts to continue. I fully expect him to bounce back. But now going down the list even more, Blake Snell, great at home and inconsistent on the road. And we know that if we make the playoffs, we got to win road games. We're going to have to win games on the road in which Blake Snell's probably going to have to start. Another one, but Joe Musgrove think of him as like a hitter. He's kind of streaky. He has that stretch of starts where he's really, really, really good. That's no Joe. He probably gives up max 2 or 3 earned runs when he's on. When he's not, concerning. He goes into that Reds game, he gives up a bunch of runs in the first. I think they went 5. I think he went 5. He comes into this one, gives up more. Has another bad outing. So he's pretty streaky, but when he's on, he's a really good pitcher, undisputed number 2. Chris Paddock, talked about it. I said he can't be this inconsistent if he wants to stay in this rotation as a number 4 or 5. From a number 4 or 5, we're not expecting anything crazy. We're not expecting shutout innings. I think that's what some people are expecting out of Chris Paddock because of the hype from back then. That's not who Chris Paddock is anymore. Now I expect him to go 5, maybe allowing 2 or 3 earned runs. And I'm okay with that. He goes out and he allows 8 in 2 or 3 innings. Can't have that. You can't be that inconsistent. And if you're mad about getting booed at home, you need to fix it. I don't know if he was mad. He stayed out there. Credit to him for staying out there. But you need to fix that. You need to be a more consistent starter in this league. And then that 5th spot, who even is in that 5th spot now? Like Ryan Weathers is in it right now, but he's got called up recently, and he's struggled his past couple outings. And we brought it up. He's kind of outperforming he was kind of outperforming himself according to his Baseball Savant numbers. The advanced stats showed that he wasn't great in many categories. And yes, he's a Dodger killer. He's had great starts against the Dodgers, but against the others, he's been good. He hasn't been great. And we love Ryan Weathers. He's definitely going to ascend into a good starter soon. But for right now, he's a really, 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 really good long reliever. I'd love to see him in that long reliever role. I don't want to see him gone, but that's what he should be. So overall, concerning, especially because Blake Snell just went on the IL right now. I just saw Drew Pomeranz as well. So an already taxed bullpen now needs, reinforcements again for who knows how many times this has happened so far this season. Reese Nair's getting the start in this series for the first game against Colorado. Hopefully he does well. This will come out on Saturday. We're recording this on the first day of the series. Hopefully he does well. But definitely very concerning. Hopefully they bounce back. 15 game a 15-game sample size is pretty good to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of concerning stuff, and like you said, hopefully Reese comes out and has a really good outing, because if you can kind of add him to the mix, that would be amazing. You bring up Weathers, and I would say Weathers has pitched really well. Problem with Weathers is I don't think he's quite ready to get stretched out as a consistent 6-inning guy. Now he allowed 4 runs last outing, but he did go 5 1/3, and I was very happy with that, and I think you guys were happy with that as well. But it's not some dominant outing or anything like that. Like you said, Isaac, he is like the perfect mold for that long reliever role, or like that Josh Hader type of role currently. Does he project to be a future starter? Absolutely, but he's not right there right now, and that's what the Padres are in desperate need of. So when I'm kind of looking at it, my big question is just a little bit of a pitching slump, or is this something that has to do with the sticky band since it's been there? And we don't know that. We don't have the answers to that, but I think that's like the big question that's going to be looming for the rest of July until the trade deadline. Maybe they make some moves for a starter. I would say that now, when you start adding in all these injuries, you brought up Blake Snell, and it seems like he'll be back after the All-Star game and he'll be all right. Dinelson Lamet, we don't know what's going on with him. We have advocated to stop throwing him, trying to make him into a starter, at least at this point, just because he has, he's been on the IL twice. He went on the IL last year, like so many injuries with his UCL and elbow and those kind of injuries. So the big question is this just a little bit of a slump, or is this something where they're being really affected by the loss of the sticky stuff? And if that's the case, and we're not going to know that for a while, but if that is the case, you're looking at a team that must add starting pitching. And if it is the sticky stuff, and some of these guys are going to be like really struggling, like Chris Paddock, for example, then you might have to add 2 starters, which cost a lot in the MLB. We brought up Maeda. Chase, you had, I forgot, I remember you were talking about another guy. Is Alcantara that it was?
Sandy Alcantara, yeah.
Yeah, so, and I'll let you get into those guys in a second, but right now, do you guys think that a starter is the biggest need at the deadline? Because I think for a World Series contending team, they need to add another arm. Because right now, I think you would say, and I would include Blake Snell in this category, you have 3 guys that you have faith in. Has Blake Snell been anything like super spectacular this year? No. But we know who he is. He has been a starting pitcher in the league for enough time to know that he's not going to, fall apart or fall off a cliff in terms of like, he might be inconsistent, but generally what you're going to get out of him over a course of a full season. So, and Musgrove and Darvish, I'm not as concerned with them, but they have had a couple of rough outings lately. So there is a little bit of, all right, what's going on here? But like, those are the 3 guys. We saw what happened last playoffs. You can't roll into the playoffs with 3 starters. Like, that is a huge no-no. So do they have to add a starter this year?
100%, absolutely. You were mentioning it earlier. I don't think we were recording. The Padres don't have any pitcher that is in the top 10 of all pitchers with innings pitched. You can find Darvish, I think you said, around 13, and then you'd have to scroll quite a ways for the next guy that's on the Padres. That just shows you how little our starters have thrown, and it's killing us. You need a guy that can eat innings. That's why I always advocate for Sandy Alcantara. He was in the top 10 last time I checked. He had a short outing yesterday. He's number 2. Exactly like that. He had a rough outing yesterday. You could attribute that to a couple of errors, and it was Rodgers, but there was 2 errors that might have, changed the way that outcome occurs. But nonetheless, he's the second in innings. He seems to go at least 6 innings each outing, which would help the bullpen tremendously. It would take some of the stress off some of the other guys. Like, we're expecting Fish to go out there and throw 6 to 7 innings because the bullpen needs that break. We need Musgrove to go 6 to 7 innings. If we have that guy, number 4 and number 5, hey, you know what? They get a little bit like a back-to-back break. 5 and then 1. You know what? Some guys don't have to throw, and then 2, 3, 4 can figure out the rest. But yeah, the starter is definitely our number 1 need compared to anything else, because Myers is starting to come around. The outfield has its chemistry back. Tommy Pham is great. I guess the only other position you could really consider is either bullpen or somehow figuring out something to do with first base.
starting pitching, and who knew, last deadline, the need was starting pitching. In the offseason, the need was starting pitching. We addressed it. So I thought, coming into this trade deadline, starting pitching would be the least of our worries. We're here again, and we need starting pitching yet again. And, it's very concerning because Darvish has been great, but he hasn't had, he's not in the top 10 innings pitched right now. The next guy is Joe Musgrove at around 35. And just for reference, the third guy on our team is Chris Paddock, who just went out in the second inning and has had some innings where he's only went 3 or 4 innings. That's very concerning considering, Dinelson Lamet, second IL stint this year, went on the IL in October, September last year, late September. And we thought he was going to need Tommy John. Ryan Weathers comes out with dead arm at one point. The bullpen is heavily taxed. So now you need to go after a guy like Chase's guy, Sandy Alcantara, or a guy like Kyle Gibson, or, Kenta Maeda isn't anything special, but we need starters at the deadline, and that's a guarantee. I guess my concern now is that with the Dodgers lost Trevor, I think might be inevitable. Who knows what's going to go on with this case? They might lose Trevor Bauer. Clayton Kershaw just hit the IL with forearm inflammation. So now the Dodgers need pitching too. So now we might be in a huge competition for starting pitching at the deadline with our biggest rival. Do we want to let them win? I don't. The main reason I don't want to let them win is because we had Mookie Betts. We were pretty close to getting Mookie Betts. They take Mookie Betts out of nowhere, and now they have one of the best players in baseball locked in. So do we. But they have Mookie Betts, and I love Mookie. I used to love Mookie. Do I love Fernando more, and do I think Fernando's better? Yeah. But, it is what it is. But we can't let them win at the deadline. We have to be winners at the deadline, and we have to come up, and we have to go get a guy like Gibson or Alcantara. Maybe there's an ace out there that can be acquired. Jose Barrios, he's not an ace, but he's a very, very solid pitcher. But maybe there is an ace at the deadline that could be acquired. We never know what's on Preller's mind.
How you went back a little bit and you started looking, what do we need at the last deadline? Starting pitching. Acquire Clevenger. What do we need this offseason? Starting pitching. We went out. Darvish, Snell, Musgrove. What do we need this deadline? Starting pitching again. It's becoming to get a little bit redundant here, and I don't know what it is. Like it's hard to place, but guys are dropping. That's the other issue. Like you look at the beginning of the season, who was the 5th starter? Morahone. Where's he? Not back for at least a year and a half. Now, Clev, there is a chance that Clev could be back for the playoffs. If he does come back, I would highly doubt that he is a starter. I'm assuming that he would not pitch that much. He'd probably pitch a couple innings, and it would be, every few days he could pitch 2 innings or something like that, which, don't get me wrong, that's a huge gain. But he's still, that's still not a starting arm. So you have to acquire a starter. I do think they're Maeda. I think that's a solid deal. I don't think he's a very costly option. I don't think it would be that much. Talked about the bullpen. You're probably going to really need a bullpen piece as well, just because, all right, all these guys are so taxed. And I mean, Melancon's been really good over the course of the season, but people have begun to absolutely hit missiles off of him. Last night was a prime example. There was a liner out to Trent Grisham. Cronenworth makes an excellent play. Both of those balls were absolutely scorched. So that's a really concerning thing. Still think that he's a big piece in this bullpen, even if the Padres did trade for another closer, moves him to a closer. Palm was supposed to be that 8th inning guy. Palm's his velocity has dropped. You said he just got put back on the IL, so that's not a good sign. We don't know if we're going to see him. We don't know what his deal is. Matt Strahm, he could come back, and you start looking all right, who are these guys that are just holding, saving the Padres? I love that it's this guy, Craig Stammen, who I remember when they re-signed him, I was like, dude, what are we doing? Craig Stammen is saving the Padres right now. Craig Stammen and Tim Hill, they deserve all the respect they could possibly get because they have pitched so many innings, a lot of high leverage situations. Emilio Pagan, he was slumping a little while back. He's pitched a lot of innings as well. So many guys in this bullpen are pitching a ton, and they're really the team. They're really the guys that are saving this ball club right now. This is a huge issue, I think. And I remember when everyone was freaking out when the Padres had a bad losing streak a while back. We were pretty calm about it. Hey, don't worry about it. They're going to bounce back. This sucks, but it's the course of baseball season. I think even though they split that last series, it's so concerning because you're looking at going, what is going on with the pitching? And if you don't have pitching, if you don't have starting pitching, it's really, really tough to win in the playoffs. So I'm really scared right now. I'm very nervous for this team. But anything else you guys want to add before we kind of end this segment?
Yeah, hopefully, this is just kind of a pitching slump. A couple bad hits here and there for a couple of the guys, but if it continues on for another couple of weeks, it's trade deadline is right near the end of it. Yeah, the MLB draft, maybe there's a couple guys that are like you can snatch off the board right away that can contribute, but I doubt it. You gotta hope, Mackenzie Gore comes back from his blister injury and has everything fixed when he needs to. He's in Arizona. If that all works out, maybe you add him to the rotation. If not, you can't add Espinoza. You can't add Lawson because they're just coming back from injury and rushing them back. So horrible idea. So you're running out of minor league options that are credible, and it's concerning. It's to say the least. And now the Dodgers lost 3 of their starting pitchers this year, and you're gonna have to compete with the Dodgers, who aren't afraid to make moves. They're ready to sell the farm system at any time. We've seen that the past 4 years, so it's very concerning.
Love it, Chase. And I know we bring up the Dodgers a lot, but let's be real, that they're our biggest competition, whether we like it or not. They're always going to do what it takes to go acquire the best players they can at the deadline. There's a couple options that are available right now. Brought up Barrios, brought up Maeda, Gibson. Maybe Sonny Gray is available at the deadline. And, all hell breaks loose. Luis Castillo may be available at the deadline. I doubt it. I love Luis Castillo, and that's why I bring up his name. But who knows? But we absolutely need starting pitching at this deadline. You're right, Matt. Starting to get redundant. Starting to get annoying how often we need starting pitching, because with all the talent in this lineup, Manny playing amazing baseball right now. Fernando is going absurd. He's absurd right now. He's insane. Tommy Pham bounced back. We've been waiting for a Tommy Pham bounce back. He does it. Trent Grisham's a star in this league. We know that. Will Myers, Chase's guy, is batting over 300 in the last 7 games. For Christ's sake, Eric Hosmer is batting over 300. Doesn't make up for what he does on the field, which is awful, but batting over 300 the last 15 games. Jake Cronenworth, there's a zone named after Jake Cronenworth, the Crone zone. The guy's amazing. But starting to get annoying. I hope this gets fixed. Whether, we'll probably have to trademark guys like Marcano, Campusano, Mateo, hopefully. But we never know what we're going to see from AJ Preller. I think there will be a blockbuster move on our side, hopefully, real soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's going to do it for this segment, but thanks everyone for listening, and we will be back tomorrow.